You know, I was talking to Noam Chomsky once, and I was interviewing him actually for the book that I'm writing.
Oh,
I've interviewed quite a few of the people that are appearing on your initiative here,
oh, good, good.
Naomi Klein, Russell Brand, and others. You know, and I was interviewing Noam, and having grown up in communist Hungary, and having been a real believer as a child, and my parents and no adult would be dare to tell me different. You know, because that would mean serious trouble if you went against the system. So I
Yeah,
grew up believing in it until the revolution in '56 in Hungary opened my eyes. I went through what I call a series of very healthy disillusionments. But the point I wanted to make here, and I made to known, is that the propaganda system here is infinitely more effective and
exactly.
self-insinuating
Yeah,
and invisible and far more clever than that crude party propaganda that I grew up with. Uh,
absolutely.
and you know, in the Brave New World, in Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, the social engineers talk about creating people that will want to do what they're expected to do.
Yeah,
We're trained that way.
yeah,
We grow up educated to want to do what the system needs us to do against our own benefit and to the
yeah,
system's
yeah,
further empowerment.
yeah.
So 1984, not 1984, sorry, Brave New World was a very prescient and prophetic account of the way the world actually works. Not that there are these social engineers as such who create people from a test tube onward like they did in Brave New World, but it's almost like that.
Yeah, and we've got to start by just looking at GDP, and that means we have to go deeper than neoliberal. We actually have to look at the industrial modern economy where nations measure success through GDP, and GDP is a measure of breakdown. It increases with ill health. It increases with pollution. I just feel every self-respecting anybody has got to start being willing to look at that economic trajectory and at the economic system as the main driver of all the destruction we're seeing.
Well, so if you look at a human organism, what do you call? The cells are meant to be in balance with each other and supporting each other, and organs are meant to support each other. But sometimes you get a cell growing that just keeps getting larger and larger,
Yeah,
eats up the cells around it or displaces them, uh, destroys the body's immunity, and takes over more and more of the body's energy. Now, in the human organism, we call that cancer. We call that malignancy.
exactly.
In the economic world, we call it a corporation
Yeah,
or capitalism. And there's a Canadian philosopher, writer called John McMurtry, who wrote a book called The Cancer Stage of Capitalism. And he has this concept called life capital. And life capital is anything that supports life,
oh, I love it.
like
I
healthy
love
food.
it.
Like
Yeah,
healthy, it's sustainable and it supports life. That's like healthy food, you know. But this system doesn't care about life capital. It
yeah,
only cares about capital.
yeah,
And one of the chapters in the book I'm writing is called "They're Not Trying to Kill Us." And what that comes from is this same Robert Lustig, this endocrinologist who bewails the rise of metabolic diseases amongst children in the
yeah,
last decades. He says it's the corporations, they're not trying to kill us. They just don't care if we die.
yeah.
It's not like they set us to murder us deliberately. They just want to make a profit.
Yeah,
But if in this, for the sake of the profit, like with the opiate companies, or the cigarette companies, or the food companies, or any number of different corporations, if a whole lot of people end up dying as a result, they don't care. They
yeah,
don't prefer us to die. They
yeah,
prefer us to be alive and be good customers. But if we happen to die in the process, well, that's the least of their worries.
yeah.
And
But
that's the world.
again, we should be clear, when we say there, because again, I do see it as this corporate machine.
I know you're
And
trying to spare the feelings of individuals, and that's
No,
fair enough. And that's fair enough. Those people have been socialized into their roles. They
yeah,
have, they,
but
but they do play those roles.
they do, but also honestly, Gabor, I'm talking about what I write about in my book. I'm talking about people who went to work for the UN because they were
I
idealistic,
know.
who
Yeah,
go out with their development mentality.
yeah,
And literally, I mean, I have to live, with people in Ladakh bringing in white sugar, white flour, and chemical fertilizers in
yeah.
the name of development and progress. And
Progress.
they're not people who are not going to care if people die. But I'm trying to address the blindness whereby people outside the corporate world and even inside it are perpetuating a deadly system. And I
Look,
think,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't blame individuals. I'm not into
yeah,
actually finger pointing.
yeah,
It is all about human blindness.
yeah, yeah.
Um, that's why he said, if I denounce the system, I'm not interested in denouncing it. I just want to say, look,
Yeah.
people want to know how it works. Here's how it works,
Yes.
and here's the impact. Now, what would you like to do about it?
Yeah, yeah,
And of course, within any system, including the corporate system, there are people who actually wake up and they're kind of shocked to become alive to the impact of what they've been doing,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they talk about it. Mark
yeah,
Carney was the head of the Bank of Canada, and he
yeah,
was head of the Bank
of England.
of England, and
Yeah,
now he's working for I don't know what international organization. He's just written a new book where he said there's a moral rot at the heart of society, and it's called capitalism. Now, here's one
yeah,
of the arch capitalists,
yeah,
administrators, bureaucrats,
yeah,
talking about the nature of the system. So yes,
yeah,
there are individuals who are capable of waking up. So
yeah.
it is not about individuals. It is about the system.
Yeah, but also, Gabor, what I would worry about is whether in that book he addresses the mechanisms whereby right now governments are being made to sign in black and white. Do you know
Yeah,
about these ISDS treaties? These are investor state dispute settlements where governments are signing in black and white. We promise we will not do anything to reduce your profit. If
right.
we do, you can take us to court.
You can. Yeah, that's
Now,
right.
because that big book, what was his name, who did the book on capitalism? That book got out
Thomas
widely.
Thomas Piketty.
Yeah. See, that book didn't mention the mechanisms whereby this capital is growing and
Yeah.
whereby these corporations, through mega mergers, are becoming more powerful than whole countries. So again, we have to be really clear about, again, I'll have to see what Mark Carney is saying now. I know his wife was sort of quite green and I almost met her at one point. But anyway, it's really important now. There's some very, very clear points of entry to say, wait a minute, do you, as even a self-respecting neoliberal capitalist,
Yeah.
believe that it's fair to force governments to comply in this way? Do you understand that you're supporting heavy subsidies for
Mhm,
your monopolies?
mhm.
We've got to really spell this out because we have this weird situation, as you know, where things are sort of in the open, and yet there are secrets. People aren't talking about some of these basics. So
Well, Edward Snowden had a wonderful line.
yes,
He was being interviewed by Russell Brand maybe a
yes,
month or two ago, and he talked about these conspiracies out there in the open. And he said that he talked about, I'm paraphrasing him, he talked about the contrast between the banality of their methods with the rapaciousness of their intentions.
yeah,
And he's
yeah,
saying they're doing this in plain sight. Well, that's just the thing, you see. What you're talking about, these international treaties. Now, you walk down any street in Vancouver, where you live in Australia, which city do you live in?
Byron Bay. I don't know if
Okay,
you've heard of it.
I haven't. So wherever you are,
Yeah,
or walk down any street in London or New York or Paris and ask the 100 passers-by what they know about these international treaties and their implications, they're going to say never even heard of them.
yeah,
In other
yeah,
words, it's done in plain sight
yeah,
and it's totally hidden.